And welcome to AFU United WFC with me, Matt Crane. I'm joined tonight by Anthony and by Gareth. Gareth, how are we doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. It's nice for having a nice fresh trim for this show, isn't it?
We'll get onto that in a minute. Anthony, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I think like Gareth says, I think we've all been to the barbers in the last week.
Yeah, it was great planning that, wasn't it? I did say to you both, we should all get a haircut for Tuesday, so it worked out perfectly. No, but all jokes aside, here we go. Look, John says we're looking fresh. It wasn't pre-planned, honestly. We swear down. I think Gareth's might have been booked in for about 18 months. But no, it's just coincidental, actually, that we all went for a trim. But anyway, moving on then, or should I say starting off with tonight, we're going to touch on the social media blackout, which comes into play this Friday until next Monday, I believe. We'll also touch on Fara Williams' retirement as well. That was a big thing that was announced yesterday. And if we have time, I'll also get your thoughts on Spurs as well from the weekend. John wants to know what song you're going to sing first. Well,
My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. I don't need to think.
Yeah, well,
I know.
We've got enough for the band 5 because there's about 3 of them left anyway. So we could have a bit of a 5 rendition at the end, maybe. No seriousness then. So we'll get on to the social media blackout. My days. Ben's coming for you already, Gareth. we already ribbed in Ben backstage for his Sue Smith trim. But,
nice for him to tune in on a Tuesday. It's the first time I've seen him.
Does make a change, doesn't it?
It was ranting anyway, weren't he?
Just gone to check out the trim
last week. Yeah, so going to start off, as I was saying, with the social media blackout, which starts obviously this Friday, straight the way through to Monday. And it's basically, for those that haven't sort of caught up with the news, it's where clubs, and that's all the men's and all the women's teams, the FA themselves as well, the Premier League, the EFL, they're not posting anything on social media for this period of time. So obviously this is in sort of to highlight awareness with the recent sort of racism, discrimination, sexism, all things like that. So it's a massively important topic. I think we're all in agreement it's the right thing to do and something needs to be done. So yeah, I'm going to I'll kick off with you first, Gareth, sort of to chat about that, give your thoughts on it. So yeah, I'll sort of, let you get straight in there.
I think, like we said, it's absolutely something that needed to be done. It's a regular occurrence now that, the kind of racist, sexist, homophobic views, kind of get hurled at players. We saw LJ early on in the week get some racist abuse in her Instagram comments. Leanne Sanderson today tweeted screenshots of DMs that had been sent to her on Instagram that were sexist, racist and homophobic. So it's pretty horrendous, the kind of things that are happening, and I think the social media companies need to step up. Instagram need to do something. Instagram, Twitter need to be better, because at the moment it's shocking. I think we're really going to notice this, which is absolutely the point. I think we're going to miss seeing players tweet about the game. I think Leicester are going to miss kind of all of their players tweeting about lifting the trophy, and all those kind of pictures and things aren't going to go on Instagram. At least not until kind of next week. So yeah, I think it's something that we're going to really notice the absence of, and I guess that's the point. If people keep, and it is a small minority of people, but the minority are always the vocal ones. If people keep sending abuse and things at players, then they're just going to come off socials completely. And it is something that we'll notice. It is something that we'll miss, and hopefully, just the absence of anything over the weekend, although in isolation it's not going to solve anything, hopefully it can make people realise that actually, it would be a real shame to lose this kind of coverage from our socials. And I think there is talks and discussions around maybe bringing in some form of verification to have a social media account, some form of ID. You know, I mean, Tinder can manage it. If you can verify yourself on Tinder by taking a selfie that matches up with some of the pictures that you're showing, then surely Instagram and Facebook and Twitter can manage something. And if privacy is people's concerns, well, you know, we all have targeted ads pop up. If you Google anything, you're suddenly getting adverts for it forever and ever. So, you know, the amount of Fox hats I got in my adverts on Facebook for ages was ridiculous. So, you know, privacy, yes, it is a concern, but, you know, if companies really want your information, they have it all anyway. You know, they don't need to get you to verify your ID. They know everything that you search as it is. So, you know, I think John's right. I think social media companies need to act, and that kind of comes from the government as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony, I'm going to sort of come to you. Obviously, you know, this is the first sort of action that kind of, you know, clubs and their players have taken. So obviously it's a good start, isn't it? You know, we've started something off now, and hopefully, you know, this is the start of them doing something. But this is interesting here, what Vic says about, you know, don't do any paid advertising, which is interesting, really, isn't it, for Instagram, you know, and sort of hit them where it hurts, so to speak. She then goes on to say down here, you know, they can filter out words and emojis that sort of people use on purpose to, you know, if they don't use the text, use the emojis, don't just sort of imply racism. Would you sort of agree with this then, or have you got sort of a different view? Because obviously, like I say, you know, it is a start, and there is different things that, you know, people and players and clubs can do. Obviously, Gareth mentioned one thing about coming off it all together, but sort of what's your take on all this then?
Yeah, like you said, it's a start, isn't it? I think obviously we know there's a problem and something needs to be done. So, like, yeah, a couple of the suggestions that Vicky said are possible, but it's the social media companies. If they don't, they've got to do something about it. Like, yeah, if you don't pay them for advertising and that, then yeah, it's going to hurt them. But if it's going to get to a point where we're going to put this in place and that in place, then, well, it's working, isn't it? Then otherwise, if they're not getting told to do anything, then they're just going to leave it. But I think in this day and age, especially with all the social media, you got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think how they can allow you to get away with them comments. If I went down the street, you wouldn't go down the street, would you, and like start making noises or something, or if you went up to like, we'll say like the Facebook or the police, you wouldn't go up to what's the right way of saying it? What was you wouldn't go up to like a mixed race copper or black copper and go up to them and go, "Oh, you blah blah blah." They're not going to let you get away with it. You're gonna get arrested, aren't you, for abuse and that. So it's not, well, it's a bit different, but Facebook and all that, the social media and that side of it is massive these days. So yeah, you can cut words out and that, but I don't know how big these companies are. Massive. They must have quite a lot of staff. You do occasionally on Facebook get people, oh, this is against our rights, but I find it's mainly with like bad jokes, sexual stuff, that they'll comment on it. Not stuff if you put like a racial comment in, and that's what they need to bring into it. Like, no, you can't accept them words. You wouldn't accept them anywhere else. So why is it acceptable on the internet?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, it's slightly, I don't know, puzzling, because like you say, they seem to be pretty quick at removing things like, you know, offensive jokes. It was not long ago, I think I might have mentioned to you, Gareth, I had a video on Instagram. It'd been up for 3 years and apparently violated music copyright laws, and it was just simply using the Top Gear theme tune over a video. Now that got taken down, which is fair enough. If it's copyright, it's copyright. That's my own fault. But, you know, things like that they seem to be hot on, you know, but yet they can't remove anything, like you say, racist, sexist or anything like that. Is bizarre. And when people report it, they get the same response. It doesn't violate our guidelines. And you're thinking, well, surely you need to rewrite your guidelines then, because this must be the second or third time for Lauren in, what, a month? Obviously, Gareth touched on Leanne Sanderson. There's been multiple instances of it. And I just think, you know, how can it be that they're so quick to remove things that, you know, aren't massively an issue for me? Like I say, like music, obviously it is copyright, but it's not as big as racism and things like that. But yet they're so slow in reacting and removing to things. And despite, you know, multiple people, and I'm talking like hundreds of people reporting things like this, you know, they never seem to do anything. Now, whether this is something that the government look at, or like you said, Anthony, you know, you said sort of the size of some of these businesses like that run Facebook and Instagram, how are they not either, one, employing software to take these things down or filters, and two, you know, if software isn't possible, why aren't they employing people? You know, they're worth billions of pounds. And I think for me, you know, it could be something where somebody from the government or somebody from the company in the business, you know, has that job of searching through all the comments like that, you know. Might be a little bit more difficult with DMs because obviously that goes directly to the person. But in terms of comments that are out there, for me, and there's no excuse, you know, it should be automatically picked up by a filter. There's so much technology about now, you know, for me, it's absolutely bizarre. And I just can't believe that, you know, we're sitting here in 2021 and things like this are still going on. You know, this has been going on for years, and it seems to be that the longer sort of things are left, the worse it gets. I mean, you know, you hear about bits, and then it seems that this year it's gone up a level and up and up and up. And it gets to the point where, you know, players, like Gareth said, are probably looking. I mean, Thierry Henry came off it completely, didn't he? Off social media, and he said, you know, I'm not going back on until, you know, until something's done. It's similar to abuse, like I said the other day. I was just chatting to Jonathan. You know, we have instances where players have come off it due to abuse received. Now, I know, Gareth, you mentioned sort of about verification, didn't you? Know, obviously betting companies do that as well. You know, usually required by law to prove that you're over 18. So why aren't we by law, you know, able to prove on socials? I think it's something where, you know, like I say, it needs to be looked at. I'm going to sort of move over to.
Can I just jump in?
Go on.
Just quickly on something. I've seen Vix kind of mention having like a filter for things like words and emojis. Now, for words, I think could probably work, but for emojis, like the emojis that people are using, there are, you know, completely innocent uses for them. So, you know, for example, if you posted something, I don't know, one of you on Instagram that looked completely cringe, you might use that monkey where they're covering their eyes as, you know, for the actual use that it's meant for. And if you have some kind of complex AI thing that would just filter that out, then that's kind of creating another issue on the side of it. So that's why I think that the ID verification, although not perfect, is probably going to reduce things potentially more, because if you have to have you know, your actual name linked with that account that can easily be traced back to you, then there's accountability there straight away. You can't just create an anonymous account with an anonymous email that you've made up. You know, I could go and make an email address now and log on to Twitter and start trolling you, and there would be nothing that would be able to link it back to me if I use a VPN. Whereas if you have to verify that it's you and it has to be linked to a form of ID, then they'll be able to trace that back to me, and then there's instant accountability there. Words, I think, yeah, you could probably filter those, and I think that, you know, definitely that could be beneficial. But again, people just work around it and use numbers instead of letters or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's an easy solution, and it's, you know, something needs to change. But exactly what that is, I don't know. Can you hear us, Matt?
Yeah, you there, Matt?
Yeah, no, I think for me, you've hit the nail on the head, and I think it's going to come to. Oh, here we go. It's going to come up to the point where, like, you know, for me, like I said before, you know, people from governing bodies, the government, etc., sort of need to sit down and tackle this together. John says, "Drunk troll Matt has enough Arsenal fans after him." You know what? That's true. Ben's, God knows what Ben's doing here. Earth to Matt. Not a clue what you mean, Ben, but never mind. We move on.
Probably when you get reply.
Yeah, like I say, you know, it's one of them, and we've talked about sort of similar topic before, haven't we, on here? Not too long ago. Say again. You say something then, Anthony.
Oh no, you said about God knows what Ben's going on about. It's probably when you didn't reply for a few seconds.
Arsenal fans, right? Anyway, carrying on. Yeah, so I'm going to obviously move on a little bit. Oh. No, I was reading through comments, that was all. Yeah, I'm going to, like I say, we've sort of touched on that in a little bit, and I'll give them views on that. I want to move on now to yesterday's news, Fara Williams retiring. So I'm going to sort of open up with you, Anthony, on this, and sort of, you know, give your thoughts. John says apparently I'm delayed. That'll be it then. Yeah, so give your thoughts, Anthony, on sort of Fara Williams, you know, retiring after an absolutely quality career. She's been ill this year as well, and she's hanging up her boots. So do you want to talk a little bit about that from what you've seen of Fara?
Yeah, Fara Williams. We'll go back. I didn't start watching women's football till about 2016, but Fara Williams was one of the actual names I knew before her. Other than her, maybe Kelly Smith. Fara Williams, I'd known the name, even though I hadn't followed women's football. And to have a career like she has had, 20 years now, is some going. Like, sometimes you don't even get a 20-year career in the men's if things go bad. But to what she's achieved, she's played for teams that have won the WSL. They've won the League Cup, which obviously must have been changed to the Conti Cup. She's won the FA Cup, and she also individual honours like International Player of the Year, and she's not just won it once. She won the International Player of the Year a couple of times. So no, she's had a great career. She's also with representing GB as well in the 2020 Olympics. I think if I remember rightly reading, she scored three goals in 5 games in that tournament. If I remember reading rightly, so that was, well, the Olympics is once every 4 years, so
yeah. Gareth, go on.
What's up? So it's a dream, isn't it? She would have been dreaming about that, and yes, as Benny says, England's most capped ever player, 172 caps, is unreal. And especially in the women's game as well. In the men's game, you seem to have more of these friendlies and that, and when you do have a tournament, there's more games in a tournament. So to have 172 caps is just amazing. Like, yes, we never quite got to a final, unfortunately, but we won the bronze in the 2015 World Cup and all that. So no, she should. I'd be proud if I had a career like her. She's definitely deserves to put her feet down. But like, I don't think I think she'll stay in football. She'll have something lined up in football. So fair play to her, I'd say.
Absolutely. I think she actually talked about, didn't she, a coaching slash media career, a bit of both. So we'll see how that pans out. But Gareth, have you got any memories or anything that you sort of, any highlights or something you want to talk about of Fara?
Yeah, I think I started kind of paying attention to women's football after the 2012 Olympics. And I mean, she'd been playing for England for 10 years by this point. She made her England debut when I was 7. I was literally as old as the kids that you're teaching now, and she was making her debut for England. And I think one of the first things I remember about women's football was, so I watched the 2012 Olympics, but it was the World Cup in Canada, and she scored in that semi-final against Japan, which ended up losing, and then she went on in that third place game against Germany and scored there as well. And that was kind of the first time where I kind of really took notice of women's football, and she played a massive part in that. 172 caps for your country is insane. And I think it's great that people like Rio Ferdinand have tweeted that she is just England's most capped player. And, there's no one prefacing that with the Lioness's most capped player, just England's most capped player. And Ben's right. We throw the word legend around so easily now. If you have a good season, you're a legend. I think people call Bebe a legend, but Fara Williams is a football legend, and you look back at some of the players that she played with for England, like Casey and Karen Carney and Alex Scott, and yeah, she'll be missed. And I think that gap in the Reading squad, I think they've missed her since she's been ill, and I think they will continue to do so. I think. One of the players that got me into women's football, her and Lucy Bronze are the two kind of standouts from that World Cup in Canada, and I've not really looked back since. And it's great now that I think actually I'll follow it more than the men this season particularly, and that wouldn't have happened without players like Fara Williams.
They're going to miss their set pieces, that's for sure, Reading.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think spot on. I think added to that as well, obviously, some people, and I mentioned it yesterday, and some when I spoke and forgot, Angrad James is also leaving. So potentially there, you're losing 2 quality players in the middle of the park that are going to be very, very hard to replace. And I think not only do you get the quality that they bring, but the leadership as well. People talk about impact from the sidelines. And I think with Fara, having that illness, she does bring just that, like Gary said, I think what I remember is, not only her excellent passing, but how many countless long range goals. And, she's somebody where she would literally drag a team through. I mean, I first saw her and she was at Everton, obviously, and that was back when Everton were better than they are now, half decent anyway. And then obviously she moved on to Liverpool and won a couple of WSL titles. And then, 18 months, I think it was, at Arsenal. And then obviously on to Reading as well, where, I mean, at the time I was surprised she went to Reading, and that's no disrespect to Reading, but I thought, player like that, how on earth, have Reading managed to pull that off? And I remember I read something yesterday about Kelly Chambers saying, she was nervous going into a meeting, and that's quite rare. That just shows the sort of the pull and, how good of a player and personality she is. That her manager was nervous to go and meet a player to sign them. But, you've both touched on it well. I think outstanding for England / Team GB. Given everything on the pitch for the clubs. I think, it is, like I said, we talked about the leadership. Hopefully now if she goes into coaching, that can be passed on to the next generation. I think for me, that's only going to be a positive. Alex Scott talked about yesterday. She said, it was her brother's idol, was Fara Williams. So, it just shows, doesn't it, that, like you said, Gareth, the men's players are picking up on it as well. Just shows the sort of impact that she's left on the game. And I'm sure it's going to be, a huge loss to the game and to Reading. Good thing for Man United point of view is it means no more free kicks or penalties past us. But yeah, I think, you know, it's going to be, like I say, a massive loss. And it's a shame that fans aren't there. It really is, because for me, you know, she does deserve the send-off. Now, I'm pretty sure Reading will do something when fans are back. Pretty sure of it. I mean, nothing's been announced, but I think, you know, it's got to be done. If they can arrange some sort of testimonial for her, charity will obviously benefit as well, then, you know, for me, that's the right thing to do. And like I say, just give her the send-off she deserves. You know, I know there's not many left. Gareth talked about that sort of 2015 World Cup. I think somebody tweeted yesterday a photo of some of them, and I think left from that was Karen Bardsley, Jill Scott and Steph Horton. And then I think on that was Karen Carney, Farrah Williams, Alex Scott, and a couple of other players. Vix here says testimonial with England. That could be something, maybe. Farrah Williams 11 against sort of England or England legends. Obviously, got to fit around the Olympics, but it might be something to look at pre-season. Like I say, hopefully, you know, for all that she's given the most capped player, be, you know, absolutely fantastic to see. I'm going to move on because I'm going to let you
quickly
or give your thoughts. Go on.
Just a couple of other things about Fara. She didn't always necessarily go where the money goes. When she was with Everton, she had an offer from some team in America, and she turned that down in the end. So she wasn't always about the money. So that was good to see. So obviously she made her game in the English League. Also, Steph Horton was on Sky last night, wasn't she? And she was saying how Farrah Williams, I think if I got it right, Farrah Williams told her to come to Chelsea, and then about 2 months later, Farrah Williams left.
Yeah, I think Siobhan Chamberlain tweeted something about that as well. About that story. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to move to obviously getting your thoughts then on the weekend's game against Spurs, because I know we all sort of talked about it between myself, John, and Natalie. So I'll go to you, Gareth. Obviously, thoughts on the game. You know, we surprised we scored 4. Were you expecting it? Yeah, just talk us through sort of your thoughts for that game and things.
Yeah, so I was surprised. And I wasn't surprised that we won. I was surprised at the fact we were just so dominant. You know, I was only able to watch the first half because I had to go for my hair transformation. But
it's a wig, really.
It isn't. It's well and truly attached. But yeah, I was surprised at how dominant we were and how much we just kind of. I mean, I thought the first 10 minutes were a bit shaky, but as soon as we got that first goal, they just dropped right back off, and we just settled down and we played our game. And they just kind of played. They tried to play around us. They tried to kind of press really hard and really fast. But that kind of just all went to pot after we scored. We settled down and we were pretty comfortable. You know, it was good to see. I think Tooney had a great game. Press played really well as well. You know, it was good to be able to bring some younger players on again towards the end and give Jackie some minutes while she's getting over that knee injury. I think she got an international duty. So, yeah, you know, it was a really good performance, really good to see. You know, we want to finish the season strong. We do want to put pressure on Arsenal. We don't want to go down fighting, although I think probably is going to be a bit too much to ask for Arsenal to slip up kind of twice now in the remaining games. But yeah, I think, you know, we want to finish the season strong. We want to finish off with an FA Cup victory in that Leicester game. So, you know, it's good to put the poor run of form behind us and be able to move on. And we've got games coming up where we should be able to build on this. And I think that's really important. Like, you know, it wasn't until the end when they were able to score from a free kick, but they didn't really get any chances. I can remember during open play, I think I remember one in the first half where there was kind of a good cross in from their right hand side, but there was no one there to meet it. So we dealt with it pretty well, and you know, we dominated the game and got the result that we deserved.
Yeah, spot on. Was there anyone then that stood out for you? I know I've seen obviously comments about wing play and sort of midfield, or was it more of a team performance for you? Obviously, like Casey come out and said after the game we'd had a poor 6 weeks. What do you think for you sort of settled it, or maybe helped us get that 4-1 win?
I think for me mainly it was the two individual performances. I mean, that stood out above and beyond the rest of the team. I think Press played probably her best game in the United shirt, and Tooney played really well as well. I think the two of them, the whole team was great. People have mentioned Hansen having a great game, and she did. But for me, it was those two that were kind of just a touch above the rest of the squad, which, I think Tooney scored and set Press up and then scored again in the second half. So, I think Tooney was unlucky not to get player of the match. But, I can't really begrudge that going to Press, given that she had her best game in the red shirt.
Yeah. Anthony, I'll come to you then. Sort of your thoughts on the game, anything that was stand out for you, or that helped us on our way to that win?
I'm a bit opposite. I think nothing really surprised me from Tottenham.
Anthony, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's fine. You keep going.
Okay. No, I'm a bit opposite to Gareth. Thought Tottenham didn't really surprise me at all. We seem to bring our A game when we play Spurs 9 times out of 10. And like Gareth said, yeah, the first 5 minutes was a bit shaky, but when we woke up and got that first goal from Tooney, it was one-way traffic from them. We was very professional, and I thought it was good that first half. We were clinical first half, and that's something we haven't always been. We always mention that we need to be more clinical, and on the first half, we had our chances and we took them. Second half was a bit more how it has been, where we could have scored a few more than we actually did. But other than that, it was a great performance, and I didn't ever feel it was under threat. Yeah, it was a shame Tottenham scored that free kick, but Mary couldn't do anything about it. But you've got you even though we were 4-0 up, you could see what it meant, wasn't it? Carrie, there was a picture on Twitter. Carrie Jones was being consoled by Casey because she was really upset that she had conceded the free kick. Now, yeah, it's horrible. You don't want to see it. But I just think that's the player you want at United. Someone that's really upset because they've conceded a free kick to a goal that's led to not having a clean sheet. And with Casey being there, we know Casey would have had a word with her and that, and she'll learn from it, and she'll realise the most important was the 3 points. Obviously, as Gareth said, yeah, Press and Tooney were the standouts for me because they were so good. People like Hansen had a great game, but she didn't get so much of a mention. I thought Una did quite well coming up, but obviously where we were so comfortable up front and we had our players up front that were great, she barely got a mention. So just another day for me. I think it was comfortable, and I wasn't surprised. So.
Here we go. Read along with PE department. I've tuned in. So for those of you that don't know, that is the old PE department where we used to teach Toonie everything she needed to know. Because without us, here we go. Without us, Toonie would have struggled. And I was joking on Sunday with Natalie and Ben. There was a nice little fancy Cruyff turn in there. But no, it's one of them, you know, we all can see, and I think a lot of people, you know, we've talked about Toonie this year, haven't we? And we've sort of said how massively improved she has been this year. And obviously, you know, delighted personally to see her stepping up, you know, in the WSL as well. A lot of people talked about her first season in the championship, scored a bag full of goals. But I think for me, it was good that, you know, she's now doing it in the WSL and she's getting the goals and she's getting the assists. And, you know, I think there was something here. Let's have a look. Yeah, could see Toonie as a captain potentially when she's 25, 26. You know, we all sort of joke about saying, you know, she sulks a little bit, hates losing. But, you know, that's what you want in your team, don't you? You want a load of winners. And, you know, I think John's saying here, get yourself on the PE show. But no, you know, it was massively pleasing. And I talked about on sort of Monday about how well, you know, the Spurs game went for us. And like you both talked about, you said about how clinical we were. I think for the first time out of 18 shots, we had over half on target, which has been, you know, a long time coming. And it sort of, it bodes well. Obviously, Burnley gave us the confidence to go on and perform against Tottenham. And, you know, there's comments further up, barring the sort of Alana Kennedy free kick, we weren't massively troubled. And I think, you know, it's something to take into next game. Obviously, Bristol is one of those ones where we've struggled in the past. We're going down there. The pitch is absolutely horrific. But, you know, it's something that we've got to work with and we've got to go there and get a result. Now, in terms of that Bristol game then, because I'm going to look slightly ahead before I sort of come on to the Women's Champions League, how do you see that one going? I'll come to you first, Anthony, in terms of, you know, setup or personnel. How do you see that panning out?
I can't see there being many changes to the Tottenham game. If she's going to play anyone different, she might play Leah from the start. Unfortunately for me, I think if Leah starts though, then unfortunately Jess will find herself on the bench. In terms of how I think it will go, we know how we know how we come. We know how Bristol City are going to come. Bristol City, no offence, they're going to try and get it up to Ebony as quick as possible. Try and get it behind Millie and Amy, which we know sometimes they can switch off, and that's what they'll be preying on to get her chances. But if we stay switched on, I fully expect us to dominate the ball as we do 9 times out of 10. And as long as we go about it the right way and don't have in our mind that this should be easy, the bottom of the league, then I think we can win comfortably. But you only have to look back to last season at LSV. How many chances did we have without scoring? They had 1 or 2, and Ebony put one of them away. So that is a warning, and they'll know that most of the girls were there for that game. So if you just got to go out there, do your job, put the ball in the back of the net and not be complacent. So I fully expect, I reckon we're going to score at least 3 goals, but as long as we're not complacent, we'll be all right. I think.
Brilliant. Anthony, whilst we've got you, I'll let you answer the question on screen. How many teams qualify for Champions League?
Oh, how many teams qualify for Champions League?
Put you on the spot here, pal.
Oh, thanks. How many is there at the moment? There's 16 at the moment. So is it 24?
From the WSL. How many from the WSL?
Oh, for the WSL. Oh, it's 3.
24. There's only 12 teams.
Hang on. How many teams qualify for the Champions League? It wasn't clear if it was WSL.
It was. Right.
Oh,
okay. Anthony.
Sorry, but you didn't show me that part.
It's a women's football show, okay, pal. The date is Tuesday, the 27th of April. Okay,
Yeah,
no, I'm just messing. Right, yeah. So basically, in the WSL, it's the top 3 that qualify for the Champions League, isn't it? So obviously, because we are sat 4th, and Arsenal have a game in hand, if they win that game in hand, then it ends up us missing out. Dear to me. Look at these comments now, Anthony. Look what you've done. Homework time. Here we go. Not done yourself no favours there, pal. But we'll move on to Champions League shortly. I'm going to get your thoughts, Gareth, sort of, like I say, on the Bristol game this Sunday.
Yeah, I think people will call me cynical or pessimistic, but Bristol are literally fighting for their lives. You see it every year. Teams in that kind of position will scrap and they will pull together and they will beat teams that have no right to beat. So, we absolutely should beat them. I think we will beat them, but I think it's going to be a fight. Like, you guys know that I watch Oldham quite a bit for the men. They went up against Grimsby last weekend, should have beat them. Grimsby are dead last in League Two, and Grimsby won the game. So, we see it all the time that teams that are in that relegation zone or are fighting that relegation will really pull together and scrap and fight for everything they can. We need to make sure that we're just better than that. They're going to be physical. They're going to get the ball up to where they need. They are going to be direct and in our face. We need to make sure that we're calm and play around that. If we play our natural game, then here he is. If we're calm and play our natural game, then I think that we'll get the result that we want. We just need to make sure that we don't let them bully us, because they're definitely going to try.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree. I think it's a game we do have to approach with a little bit of caution, like you say, fighting for their lives. And I think it's one of them, like, you both mentioned, there's players that can cause us problems. Players like Ebony, they came back very well. Is it Saturday, their game against Villa? And managed, I think they were 2-0 down and managed to nick it back right in the last sort of few seconds. So, John says
it wasn't a free kick.
Not forget. No, it wasn't a free. Not for me either. It wasn't a free kick. And then it went all the way in, I think, as well, didn't it? So it was one of them. But we'll need to be on our guard. Obviously, we can take a little bit of confidence and good performance, like I say, from Sunday, and just hope we can kick on.
It's a game that's got. It's a game that's got an Amy Palmer screamer written all over it.
In which net, though? No. I know you love your fellow Norwich people, so yeah, shout out to Norwich. But no, I think we're going to end the show then, Anthony, with the Women's Champions League. Okay, not as a general, the Women's Champions League. Today it was announced then, 24 million euros, which is 4 times the current prize money, will be distributed in this new format of Champions League. So obviously the new format being there's expansion of it, so there's more teams coming into it, and basically clubs that make sort of the group stage will get 400,000 euros, and then there'll be sort of payments through knockout stages. Controversially as well, in the knockout stages they're going to be bringing VAR into play. So Anthony, I'm going to let you talk about first the extended prize money, your thoughts on that. And then secondly, the absolute shambolic thing that we have, that's VAR, that seems to be just being dropped in the women's game randomly, despite sort of it not being in, league or other cup games. So yeah, over to you.
Yeah, it's. I think it's great that there's going to be more prize money. It's more, obviously, it's great financial benefits for clubs the further they get. Hopefully with them plumbing in more money, it will help the women's game, teams growing, all that. So the money side it shows that it's coming along, that they're going to invest more, hopefully, with more money being plugged in, hopefully. I don't know really much more on it, on the money side of thing, but with VAR, it's interesting. Robert Kenton's just put you have VAR, but you don't have goal line technology. Now, I'm pretty sure that they can't use VAR for goal line decisions, or would they use them for goal line decisions? Because I'm pretty sure you can't, because hence, if that was the case, then you would just have VAR, wouldn't you? Instead of having all that money spent on the goal line technology. My main worry is, like you said, they've just dropped VAR in. We have enough trouble on the men's side of the game with our full-time professional referees. Now, are these? Where are they going to be doing the decisions from? Are they going to be? Obviously, they're going to get a bit of training, but how much training are they going to get into it? Hope the only thing that the VAR will benefit is if the ball hits your face and the ref thinks it's a handball, well, we're not going to see that anymore, are we, in the Champions League? But it does worry me, the quality of reffing, as we've spoke before. So if they get trained right in that, it could be a good thing, though, couldn't it? If you look at it, like, I haven't watched much Champions League, to be fair. Like, I'm waiting for Man United to get there. So I don't know what the standard is in the Champions League reffing compared to the WSL. I'd like to think it's better. Obviously, you've got that ref. Is it Stephanie? Obviously, she's starting to ref some of the men's games now, which is great for other females. It shows that if you can do the job and you're good at your job, then you get rewarded that way. So no, it all depends on how they work it, and are they going to use the same offside that they do in the Premier League? Because with VAR, offside's offside now, innit? You think, oh, that's onside, and then they say it's offside. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd agree. You know, there's so many. I mean, obviously, it's only just come out today. The news. There's so many questions, isn't there? Like you say, you know, will they bring in goal line because of it? Will they sort of, you know, have VAR look at it back? Will they go to pitch side monitors? Will it be, you know, at some other random room, sort of like the men's? So it's interesting, but I think something that sort of got me as well was that they're also giving money, it says, to non-participating clubs, and that's going to be, you know, calculated by sort of their domestic league, and the further clubs. So, for example, in England, the further the English clubs go in the Champions League, the more money will go to other clubs. So, I think in a way, the increased prize money, if it is shared around to, you know, other clubs within that league, and they benefit, then that can only help the game in general. So, I think if you're looking at it that way, that sounds quite a positive to me. Obviously, the downside is, like we've touched on, the VAR, because it's just thrown in there only for the knockouts as well. It's not even like it's a group stage. But I'd agree when Robert said earlier, you know, and I think a few other people in the comments agree as well, you know, we need the goal line technology. And obviously, Robert first mentioned it. You know, we need to take this one stage at a time. You know, we can't just randomly throw things in for the sake of it and then not have things consistent. And, you know, by that, I don't mean that I want VAR consistently, because I don't want it at all. but it's like we threw it in, as Vic's rightly mentioned, further up in the comments for the 2019 World Cup. Then it's not sort of happened in the league. Then it's like, right, we're going to throw it in the Champions League, but only for the knockouts. Then it's not at all anywhere else. It's quite up and down, isn't it? I think for me, let's take it one step at a time rather than just throw things out through trial and error. Because I think for me, it's got to be a process. You've got to start, right, we're getting the professional refs and the Sky deal. Brilliant. Now in 2022 and the season after next, what's the next step? Could it be goal line technology? Possibly. Should it be, in my view? Yes. And again, Vix has said here, got to get the basics right. There's so many things that need to be or can be improved. Ticket allocations as well, and the way you go about that. I know Nat's a big fan of segregation, but overall, it's got to be, sort of a process. But I'm going to bring you in, Gareth, and sort of give your thoughts on it. Obviously, there was a bit, I think you highlighted it to me, didn't you? You talked about the bit about maternity leave and clubs being able to add to their number of players, which obviously in the men's usually send you Champions League list, and then that's it then until, I think, is it the next transfer window? From summer to Jan, and then in Jan you can alter it, and then you can't again till the summer. So I'll let you sort of talk around that, and obviously the prize money in the Champions League in general.
I think with the VAR, I think it's important to distinguish between the Premier League VAR, which is a complete mess, and VAR where it's implemented in literally every other competition in the world, where you don't seem to be having these controversies all the time. You never look at Twitter and see Bundesliga fans kicking off. You never look and see Serie A fans kicking off, or La Liga fans, or MLS fans. There might be sort of controversy once in it, sort of rarely, but it's definitely not every week. Like, you definitely wouldn't have seen the Balbuena red card be given sort of anywhere else in the world. So I think the VAR issue in the Premier League is very much a Premier League issue that they need to sort out. Like, the screens have only just come back in this year, and I think what the Premier League have done is gone, okay, well, VAR is a good idea, let's do it our own way, and then the Premier League's way is a disaster. Whereas I think when it's been implemented by UEFA previously, I think it's gone pretty well. I think there's strengths and weaknesses of it. I think would Villa have wanted that foul check-in? If they get relegated, would they think maybe if we'd not drawn that game against Bristol, could have been something there? So, yeah, I think it's important to distinguish between how UEFA implement it and how the Premier League implement it. So, I think it could be good. Again, it all depends. But yeah, I think with the knockouts as well, they can't really have it in the group stage because there is such a massive gulf in quality, in the early stages of the Champions League. So I think that's the issue there. Getting onto prize money, I think it's a great idea. I also think that there could be some potential issues. If you're having £24 million going out into as prize money for that competition, I think there is a risk that the top three become a concrete top three and stay as a concrete top three because they're getting money every year because of the Champions League. So I don't think we want that to happen. What you don't want to see is France becoming even more of a two-horse race than it already is. You don't want PSG and Lyon getting all the money every year, and then they can just hoard the best players and the rest of the league fall straight behind. You don't want the top three in England doing the same thing. You want teams like Everton and United, and obviously if Leicester come up and they push for the fifth place that they want, you want to see those teams be able to kick on and push for third. So there needs to be some kind of funding matched from other organisations to make sure that those Champions League teams don't just keep getting that extra money every year and be able to look at what Chelsea have done. It's taken Emma Hayes 5 years to build that team. And there's a chance that they're not going to make the final. I still think they'll turn it around at home against Bayern. But yeah, it's not. we don't want it to become like what used to be in the Premier League, where the same top four would be a top four all the time. You want it to be that third place or that second place, whatever, to be open and people can fight for it. I mean, yeah, let's leave Everton in fifth, but if we're second, they can come third. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I think we want it to be competitive. We want the WSL to be a fight, and we don't want the WSL to become like what we see in Spain, where it's the same couple of teams fighting for it. We don't want it to be like France, where it's PSG and Lyon pushing for it. No, Ben, I do not have a half and half Leicester shirt. I just have 2 Leicester shirts.
Hey.
I don't need a half and half because I've just got the 2 full shirts instead. One blue and one white. Yeah, they're just over there.
Just the 2 full Leicester ones instead.
Yeah, and one United.
Priorities.
There we go. Level it at me. That's right.
But yeah, I think on the whole, VAR, I don't think we need it. I think you're right. I think it's more important to get goal line technology first. But if it comes in and it's implemented well, then I won't really have any complaints. If they come in and it's like the Premier League where it's just an absolute joke, then there'll be complaints. The prize money, it's great. It's great that the women's game is getting more funding. But I have no shame. But yeah, you don't want to see the elite clubs stay elite and it be cut off from everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Cautious of time and the absolute ribbon that we're getting in the comments. Yeah, we are back then. So I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in first and foremost tonight. Obviously, thanks to you two, as always, for joining me on a Tuesday. We are back on Friday. The Men's Europa League is Thursday, so we're fitting around that. So Friday, John and Natalie are on, and they will be doing a bit of a season roundup, just talking about different talking points throughout this season and rounding it up as a whole. Saturday, myself and Ben are back, 8 o'clock live. If you haven't caught our 50th anniversary show as well, that is all over our socials now. We've hammered that promo. We sort of filmed in 2 parts. We all met up for the first time in 15 months, myself, John, Nat and Ben. We did a little tour, so I know there's a lot of people on here that tune in from sort of all around the world, different countries that have never seen LSV and the facilities. So we did a little tour around there. And then we talked about Spurs. So, have a look on that. Again, that's on personal socials and All for United WFC. Vix is looking forward to seeing PJ and Duncan on Saturday. I'll let you lot decide which one's which then. But yeah, like I say, obviously join John at 7:30 Friday, and then myself and Ben. And obviously Sunday, there will be the pre-match preview for Bristol and also the halftime analysis. Once again, obviously schedule will go up either tonight or possibly tomorrow morning, just sort of, so everybody's got a little bit of a visual. But yeah, like I say, thanks again. It's great to see so many people tuning in. Ben says Cat Dealey is also on. He just doesn't know it yet. Not a clue who Cat Dealey is. Cat Dealey's gone now. It's Sue Smith.
Yeah, Sue Smith's umpiring cricket on Saturday.
Yeah, but we'll let Ben sort of keep going with his little comments because nobody's got a clue what he's saying. But anyway, that's it from us. Obviously, socials are on screen as well as always for Twitter. Usually the best place to interact with everyone. And apart from that, we'll see you all on John's show on Friday. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
See you.